Imagine disappearing from your home in the middle of the night at 4 years old. A massive search is launched in and around the home, and more specifically, the room where you vanished from. And this even includes cadaver dogs, but it turns up nothing. Your mom gives interviews pleading for your return, sitting on the bed where you disappeared from. And just when all hope is lost, your body is found 9 days later in the very same bed where you went missing from, under the mattress where your mom was giving interviews from, and you were reportedly there the entire time, yet somehow, no one knew. That's what happened to this little girl right here, and despite a lot of blood being found on the sheets, and someone literally sleeping in her bed every single night after she disappeared, she wasn't found for 9 days. Only after her room started to smell. Her bed was made every single day, and not to mention several different agencies turned that room upside down looking for her. Yet police say no foul play was involved. She just accidentally tossed and turned too much and ended up getting trapped at the foot of her bed, and then her body was hidden by a portion of her mattress. That absolutely nothing about this is suspicious. This is the mysterious death of Paulette Gabarra-Farah, and if there's ever been a case that's divided so many people and had a whole community on edge wondering how this could possibly happen, it's this one, so let's talk about it. This is Paulette Gabarra-Farah. She was only 4 years old when she mysteriously disappeared and died on March 22nd, 2010. She lived with her mom and dad, Mauricio and Lizette, and her older sister just outside of Mexico City. Paulette struggled with being able to talk, and she needed help walking due to some developmental disabilities. So she needed a little bit of extra care, which wasn't an issue because living with the family were Paulette's 2 nannies, Erica and Martha, who Paulette loved. By all accounts, this was a loving and hardworking, close-knit family. Paulette's dad was a businessman and her mom was a lawyer, and everyone who knew them said that they loved their kids so much. But on March 22nd, 2010, this family's lives would all be torn apart. So just the night before, Paulette, her dad, and her sister had returned home from a 3-day vacation. Her mom stayed up late waiting for them to come back, and once they did, she tucked her kids into bed like usual. Nothing was out of the ordinary, but by the next morning, Paulette would be gone. Early the next morning, Paulette's nanny Erica went into her room to check on her and get her up for the day. But Paulette wasn't there, which was not normal because, like I said, she couldn't really walk on her own. So she definitely still should have been in bed. So Erica and Paulette's mom, Lizette, began searching the house for her, but it was like she just vanished into thin air. Mauricio came home from work early to help search, but eventually authorities were called in. But Paulette's disappearance wasn't really like any other authorities had ever encountered. The mayor was quickly brought in, and eventually the attorney general of the state of Mexico. So this was a pretty big deal. Together, several different agencies turned the family's home upside down looking for little Paulette, but they found nothing, not even anything surrounding the home. It was a really eerie scene though, because there were no signs of a break-in or robbery, no signs of a struggle, and no signs of a kidnapping. Paulette was just gone. The family did have security cameras up that police hoped would be useful, but after reviewing the footage, there was absolutely no evidence of Paulette leaving or being taken from her bedroom or the house at all. This is when the family really ramped up the investigation and did everything they could to get Paulette's name out there. They handed out hundreds of flyers and posted her story all over social media, and her disappearance really went viral. Tons of billboards were put up, and pretty much everyone in the community knew what was happening. I mean, it also went national too. That's how crazy of a story this was. One of the things that really stand out about this case is the interview Paulette's mom did right after she was reported missing. She's sitting on Paulette's bed where she quite literally disappeared from, addressing her daughter's abductor. She begged for whoever had her to just give her back. They could drop her off at a shopping center or even in a really busy crowd. She didn't care. She just wanted her daughter back. But as this investigation was unfolding, it became very clear that it was being botched. Authorities never sealed off Paulette's bedroom, so any evidence was either contaminated or just completely destroyed. And what's even crazier to me is that right after Paulette disappeared, her mom invited one of her friends to come and stay at the home to help search for her. But let me be super clear, she not only invited her to come and stay in the home, but more specifically, she let her friend stay and sleep in Paulette's bed. Why anyone thought this was a good idea, I have no idea. So day after day, someone was sleeping in Paulette's bed, and as a result, her bed was being made on a daily basis. I really want to emphasize this part because it makes what I'm about to tell you even stranger. So on March 31st, 9 days after Paulette disappeared, her body was found. But where she was found is what's really disturbing. So around the 9-day mark, her room started to smell really bad. And for some reason, authorities decided to completely strip her bed and bedding once again. This is when they made a horrific discovery. There, in her own room, between the mattress and the foot of the bed, was Paulette's body. body, which had been wrapped in sheets. The very same bed that her mom sat on giving interviews, pleading for her daughter to come back. The very same bed that she went missing from, which was now being slept in every single night by one of her mom's friends. What's really creepy to me and honestly bizarre is how she wasn't found sooner. Several different agencies searched Paulette's room numerous times, even bringing in cadaver dogs. Yet she was never found within that 9 days, which I seriously don't get how that happened. According to the autopsy report, Paulette slept with an orthopedic cloth over her mouth every single night to prevent her from sleeping with her mouth open. When she was found, pieces of this cloth were found on both of her cheeks, and she also showed signs of a blow to her left elbow and knee. Ultimately, her official cause of death was found to be from suffocation. More specifically, mechanical asphyxia due to obstruction of the navel cavities and thorax-abdominal compression. Authorities went on to say that her body had not been manipulated after death, meaning she died exactly where she was found, and nobody moved her body after the fact. The autopsy also showed that she had eaten approximately 5 hours before she died. There were no signs of physical or sexual violence to her body at all, and although her exact date and hour of death was never released, authorities speculate her death occurred between 5 and 9 days before being found. It's possible that she died on that very first day/night or shortly after, yet nobody knew she was right there the entire time. Toxicology report was also conducted, which showed no traces of any drugs or toxic substances that would have affected her consciousness. So because of all of this, her death was ultimately ruled an accident. The Attorney General stated that it's unfortunate, but he fully believes that Paulette died by her own means. She tossed and turned so much in the middle of the night that she somehow fell between the mattress and the foot of the bed. And because she wasn't able to speak or move much without assistance, she wasn't able to call out for help or climb out on her own. And then she slowly suffocated to death. As for not finding her for 9 entire days, no one really seemed to have any answers. The room was searched several times, but still she was there the entire time. Because of the weird circumstances surrounding her case, a lot of people started questioning Paulette's parents, and even her mom's friend who slept in the bed. At one point, her parents were even placed on house arrest because they were reportedly giving false statements to police, and her mom's story really started to not add up. Eventually, they were released from house arrest, and no charges were ever filed against either one of them, but some people still questioned their involvement. The family separated after Paulette's death, and her dad was really vocal about not trusting his wife. He said that there was no way that this was an accident at all, and he had his suspicions of her. Paulette's mom, Lizette, was later heard in a leaked recording telling her other daughter to not talk about Paulette's disappearance, because otherwise people would blame her for it. She initially denied ever saying that, but she later confessed that she did in fact say those words, but it was just taken out of context. Paulette was buried not long after this, and her mom didn't allow her dad or any of his side of the family to be there, which is kind of sad. There are a few things that don't add up about this case though. One being how Paulette was there the entire time, but not found for 9 days. These are a couple of quotes from her nannies. According to them, there's just no way that Paulette was there that whole time. Like they insisted, there was 0% chance that Paulette was there. It just was not possible. They made the beds every single day, and Erica herself checked all over the bed and under the mattress, and Paulette wasn't there. Then we have the forensic video that was given to the press by local authorities. This video adds even more questions to this case because if it's credible, there's no way that Paulette wasn't murdered. So the night Paulette was found, a team of 3 forensic experts entered her room and began taking measurements of the bed. This was all being recorded as per protocol, so you can hear them loudly explaining what they were examining. Out of nowhere, one of them says, quote, "Paulette was severely beaten," end quote, on 2 separate occasions, which was weird because at this point, her body hadn't been found yet. Then another investigator started removing the blankets, which then showed 2 large blood stains. One of them was as large as an adult's head. So then they started stripping the bed down, and in the video you can exactly see when and where her corpse is revealed. It was partially hidden on one side of the mattress. What's super weird is that before her death was ruled accidental, the Attorney General initially stated that, quote, "Without question, Paulette was murdered," end quote. But then this forensic video was leaked to the public, and then he quickly refuted this statement. He then said absolutely no foul play was involved, and Paulette was in fact not murdered. This was super confusing to a lot of people and made them question the authenticity of that forensic video. There's some speculation that that specific video was actually just a reenactment of the crime scene and not of them actually finding Paulette. I mean, this was given to the press directly from local authorities, but some still question if it's real. If it wasn't, I mean, that would explain how the forensic team team knew she was beaten before any evidence was found, including her body. Because how would you know that with no body? Some think the placement of the camera was just off, and they didn't act shocked or surprised at all when they found her body. It kind of seemed, at least to a lot of people, like they were reading from a script. And if that video was true and there was a lot of blood on her bed like it showed, why wasn't she found sooner? Why did the mom's friend continue to sleep in the bed? And this definitely contradicts what the nanny said. They said they changed her bedding every single day, so personally, I'm leaning on the side of this being a reenactment. I doubt that that amount of blood would go unnoticed for so long, but I could be totally wrong, and that could be a real video of them finding her body. If so, that just makes me have even more questions though. After this investigation was closed, the Attorney General actually resigned from his position, citing not having any more confidence after Paulette's death investigation. He didn't know what to believe, and he felt that someone in this position needed to have confidence to be successful, so he resigned. I thought that was a little bit odd. In 2010, a YouTube video titled The Strange Case of Paulette's Pajamas went viral and drew way more attention to this case. In the video, they clearly show photos of Paulette's body in red and blue reindeer pajamas, but what really shocked everyone was the fact that several days before Paulette was found, her mom gave an interview, and those exact same pajamas were seen in Paulette's room. Obviously not on her body since she wasn't found yet, but they were just hanging in her room. They were seen as Paulette's mom and the reporter were going through Paulette's belongings. So how were they then found on Paulette? That makes no sense and is honestly really creepy to think about. Her mom says that those pajamas seen in the video belong to Paulette's sister, but they were never found in the house after this. And she also never told authorities that they had the exact same PJs. So the big question here is, how did they then end up on Paulette if she'd already been dead and missing for a long time? A lot of people still suspect Paulette's mom in her death, and even the police at one point said that she was the only suspect. Again, she's always denied this and has never been charged in connection to her daughter's death, but it's still odd. Some people theorize that maybe she felt that taking care of Paulette was a burden, so maybe she was responsible for what happened somehow. But again, this has never been proven. I also question why police never secured Paulette's bedroom, as it was an active crime scene, and why another person was allowed to sleep in that very same bed. And overall, I just really want to know how Paulette went missing from her bed, and then 9 days later, after a massive search, was found dead in that very same bed. None of that makes sense to me, and sadly, I don't know if you will ever have the answers. But it's now been 15 years, and whatever happened to Paulette that night, and how her body remained hidden in her bed for 9 days, remains a mystery.